NSW. People of Reddit who have had sex with an in-law or step-sibling or parent. What happened? How did you get into that situation and did anyone find out? My mom and dad had gotten divorced after she had been cheating with the pastor from our church. Shortly after my dad remarried, we're talking less than 8 months, my new stepmother was also the mother of a close friend of mine. We had practically grown up together since my dad and she had also been friends since middle school. My friend was 7 months older than me. The situation was already awkward since I had a crush on her daughter for some time. Turns out she was crushing on me too. We ended up secretly dating at 13 and ended up fricking pretty frequently. Stepmother caught us in the act when we were 17. Surprisingly enough, she wasn't even upset. She just gave us the usual adult talk and made sure we were using condoms. She also started her on birth control. She never told dad. We stopped the relationship when we went to separate colleges, but still kept in touch. After about 5 years of growing up and being in separate states, we ended up visiting and restarted the relationship just about a year ago. Yes, dad is aware of the relationship now, though he acknowledged he assumed stuff was happening anyway, but didn't care since we weren't blood related. Also, I'm now engaged to my stepsister. Good for you, man. I know someone who got pregnant from a guy and then later married him. No problems yet. Then, though, the girl's mom and the guy's dad got together and had their own kid. So now the original couple has a brother together. The baby has a sister and brother married to each other, but they were married before any of the weird crap happened. Honestly, if my parents pulled that crap, I'd be so pee, because no one is ever gonna believe the kids got married first, so they're gonna be the weirdos. My brother and stepsister fricked each other. They are both married and have children and there is nothing weird between them. The weird thing is that my dad and stepmom encouraged it. They wanted them to be together and get married. My stepmom will occasionally bring it up when she has been drinking, like she still kind of wishes it had happened. Briefly, during high school, my girlfriend's parents were on the rocks. The mom was sleeping with another guy, and the family was in rough shape, so the dad's response was to go after my single mom. Next thing you know, my girlfriend's dad is having an affair with my mom, while the girlfriend's mom is having an affair with an old flame. They are going on double dates together and the girlfriend and I are suddenly unofficial step-siblings. And yes, it was awkward, even though it really had nothing to do with us. Thankfully, it didn't last long, maybe a month. Her mom and dad reconciled and things went back to normal. There was one night they all came over to my mom's apartment with wine. We all drank. The mom and her fling went to a hotel. My mom and the dad went to bed. And then the girlfriend and I went to bed. That was weird. Does that count? LOL. Jerry Springer's on line 1. I went to high school with these two girls who had been best friends for most of their lives. In 11th grade, one of the girls started sleeping with the other girl's dad. Older dad too. Not a young dad if that matters to you. And then began a relationship with him. Since she was 16, it was technically legal there. It was mortifying for the daughter because it was a small town and everyone knew. It tore the family and their friendship apart. It was awful to witness. I know it's not exactly what the OP asked for, but the question made me think of it. OHH dang, I feel sorry for that girl. Two of the people you're supposed to trust the most just teaming up to frick over your life. My dad had started dating following a messy divorce and, after being very coy about his activities for a few months, decided to introduce me to his girlfriend's family. We all traveled to a relative's country house and had a big party. The wine flowed pretty liberally. Eventually it was just me and the new girlfriend's daughter who remained. We'd been getting on pretty well all night, and we were both quite drunk at this point. I stood, deciding I'd had enough fun for one night, and kissed her goodnight. One thing led to another, and we slept together. This kept up for a few months. I'm not sure if dad ever grasped why I was always so excited to visit his girlfriend's place, but I was there in a flash if the invitation was offered. Fast forward 6 or 7 years, and dad married his partner. I was a groomsman. Now I have never banged my sister in games of never have I ever. Don't regret it at all. We were in our teens and we're actually good friends now. Well, at least you two aren't blood related. My great aunt married the boy next door at age 18 in 1945 or so. Turns out he was gay, and he wanted her to be his beard. Very unhappy. Her husband was estranged from his father who had already divorced his mom, so the father-in-law joined the Navy at the outbreak of the war and spent the war building airstrips all over the Pacific and Southeast Asia. He gets back from the war, meets his son's wife. He and my great-aunt have instant chemistry. They apparently start banging almost immediately. He's been off at war and she's in a barren marriage, so lots of pent-up physical energy. Of course they get caught after a while. Mid-act the son and ex-wife show up. Actually provided a great out for the gay son, as he could divorce her, be the wrong party, and now be single with no questions about his orientation. My great-aunt suffered some social ostracism for this as it was juicy gossip for the city they lived in. However, when the divorce came, she married her former father-in-law. They remained married until his death in the mid-90s, both his age and the year. After nearly 50 years together and 3 kids, plus grandkids, they were quite happy. But this story has always been one my mom kept from me until I was 30. TLDR. My great-aunt cheated on her closeted gay first husband with his father. She ended up marrying her former father-in-law. What a wild story. In high school, one of my close friends lost her virginity to her mid-30s stepbrother and began a relationship with him. They didn't grow up together. I always felt like he was a bit sleazy and that he groomed her. We were about 16. The thing is, they're still together. 15 years later, with a kid and everything. It really tore their family apart for a while though. I did the deed with my mother-in-law once. It still makes me feel dirty when I think about it. I was separated from my wife at the time, in the process of divorcing, and went to my mother-in-law's house to help her with moving some furniture. We ended up sitting around after I helped and had a few cocktails and talked about my separation to her daughter. Fast forward to midnight and 6 drinks later and all of a sudden I'm looking at her with her jeans to her ankles and bent over the kitchen table. I swear to this day I really don't know who made the first move or how it got to that point. It was crazy. The next day she calls me and plays the whole "I had so much to drink I don't even remember last night" card. I get it. I know it was her way of pretending like it never happened and I was perfectly okay with doing just that. I saw her numerous times after that and neither of us acted strange. We just erased it and acted like nothing ever happened. At the time I was about 30 and my mother-in-law was about 50. I've never told anyone until now. You mother sucker. When I was in high school I had a crush on this chick. We were 16 and 18, who went to one of the schools near me. A few years later, 19 and 21, her uncle started dating my mom. They got married, and this girl basically became my cousin. I still had feelings but it could never work. Anyways, skip forward a few more years later, we're now 25 and 27, and I was at her place for her 25th birthday. We both got ridiculously drunk. I passed out in her laundry room on a spare mattress, woke up at like 4 AM and came out to her room. It was in the basement. Laundry room was adjacent. She woke up as I was looking for my sweater to head home. She told me not to go. She wanted me to stay. Wanted me to get in bed with her. I did. We cuddled a little, and I got a little handsy. She started kissing me. We made out for a bit. I got most of her clothes off. We didn't frick. Just made out and touched and held each other for a bit. Nothing ever happened since and she has a boyfriend now, and I try not to talk to her too often because I still have strong feelings for her. I just don't want to get in the way or complicate things for her. She's happy with her new guy and that's enough for me. The main thing I took away from this story is she has a laundry room big enough to put a mattress in. I mean I could totally fit a crib mattress in mine, but that's about it. Jealous. Had a fling with my former sister-in-law up until recently. I split with my ex when she cheated on me back in 2011, and I effectively cut contact with that side of the family, Sil included. Sil was never on my bad side per se, but it was easier to cut her out and call it a day than try to surgically remove everyone else but her. She wasn't a model, but she wasn't bad looking either. Her and I got along well enough during my marriage because we married into the insanity. Fast forward to last year. Find out ex-Sil. I'm long divorced by this point, and ex-wife's brother separated because ex-Bill started freaking with someone behind her back. Guess cheating ran in the family. I unblock her and reach out. I've been down this road and know how to handle the family in court, so I figure I'd lend assistance. Meet up with ex-Sil. help her do some errands. Ex-Bill left nothing for her, not even a car, then head back and hang out. Started drinking. Certain things came out about one another, and next thing I know we're in the bedroom going at it. We met up a few times until about a month ago. She found a guy that she wants to date, so I stopped becoming her plan B. No one has found out, and I'm pretty sure it'd be a shit show if anyone did. Hence the throwaway for the post. To clarify, my ex-wife had a brother. His ex-wife and I slept together after both divorces. At the wedding of my sister and my brother-in-law, I slept with his sister. It makes for some awkward family gatherings, which I make worse by calling her sis. Not sure if I am ashamed or proud of my highest rated comment. Proud, it's proud. My guy, make it worse. Parents are divorced. Dad now lives with his second wife and her son and daughter, Kate, who is 1 year younger than me. Me and Kate have had fricked a few times over the last couple of years. First happened on a holiday in Corfu when we were 18. She was super hot in her bikini. I'm okay, I suppose. Something clicked between us. Things got flirty. We went to a local club one night without parents. Lost her brother who met a girl. Me and Kate walked back along the beach. Gone midnight. Ended up making out on the sand, but occasionally people would walk past, so we went back to the hotel and I snuck into her room. We managed it a couple of times more on the holiday, but her brother kind of got wind and asked me if I had any feelings for her, which I denied, and he warned me off. He's older and bigger than me, so me and Kate didn't do anything more. But a few opportunities have arisen since that we've taken advantage of. But my work and hers clash, and what with family being around, it's rare we get time alone. Whether anything will come of it, I don't know. I hope to get my own place this year. Maybe that will give us more chance, or maybe we should stop, as I can see it causing problems. I think we both know that. This is the first one that I have seen that is an ongoing situation. Update this post every 6 months or something. My biological mother died when I was about 5 years old. Dad remarried about 2 years later to a woman who had a daughter who was the same age. We get along pretty well for the most part, and years go by and nothing happened. Sometime when we were both 13, my stepmom got in a car accident and died almost instantly. We all took it really hard, especially my dad. Dad started to drink and not be very fatherly to either of us. He was depressed and rarely ever talked to us, and in turn left my stepsister and I feeling despondent and unloved. One night I woke up to the sound of my stepsister crying. I went to her room to comfort her and calm her down. We both end up crying together and we just held each other for a long time. I kissed her and went to go and leave, but for some reason, don't really know why, we just kept kissing for a while. Eventually we just ended up fricking. I don't really know why we did it. We had never had any attraction to each other beforehand, and we certainly never planned on fricking. I think both of us just liked the idea of being close to someone. We hadn't felt a touch of someone we loved for so long that I think it was just a way of coping. In total we had fricked probably 14 or 15 times over the course of about 2 years. After that we just stopped. Don't really know why. We just got over the feeling of being unloved, I guess. No one knows as far as I'm aware. It never negatively affected our relationship, and it isn't awkward between us. It was just something that happened. Had fricked with my step-cousin, unknowingly. My parents divorced when I was in grade school. Got on well enough with a stepmom when dad remarried my freshman year in high school. The wedding was low-key and I don't remember much about it. 4 years later I'm at college about 3 hours from my hometown. Big state uni. Stepmom offhandedly has mentioned that her niece goes to this school, but I never got in touch or connected with this person. It was the early mid-90s. A few months into school, I randomly meet a girl at a party. We clicked on a physical level. We didn't really date or go out, but we fricked like monkeys for the rest of the year. Just pure carnality. She lived in a different town about 2 hours from my hometown. Whatever. We exchanged housing info for the next year and went off to have our summer. In late July, stepmom is having a family reunion. She was so excited that I could finally meet her niece and maybe we would be friends and could study or hang out at uni. Cool, whatever. Mom crap. So we go to the reunion. Yup, the girl from college was stepmom's niece that I had spent the previous school year banging. Playing like we didn't know each other, it was an awkward family event. Kinda killed the magic of our lust. We booty called a few times that next school year, but it just fizzled. So, I had fricked with my step cousin. Only her and I, as far as I can tell. No, 11/10 would do again. My college roommate worked at a supermarket. He was banging the married manager of his department for a few months. He then started banging a girl in his class and then started dating. He broke it off with the manager. At some point he and I went clubbing, and on the way home he got pulled over for a DUI check. He was sober and gave the cop a hard time being a dong. Long story short, he went to dinner with his girlfriend to meet her parents. Her mom was the manager. Her dad was the cop. I know they broke up soon after, 20 years later, and we still joke about it when we get together. No way this happened. It's too perfect. This is about my sister-in-law. My wife and her sister was taken from their biological parents when they were young. Sil 5, wife 2. They were taken due to the father physically abusing them. Well, my Sil never got along with her adopted family like my wife did and still remained in contact with the biological parents. Around when my Sil was 18 she got pregnant and moved back in with her biological family against the adopted family's wishes. She goes dark for a few years besides her randomly contacting my wife trying to get her to come visit the biological parents. My wife obviously refuses. After about 5 years after her first child she gets pregnant again and starts to socialize with my wife again. At this point we realize that she is mentally disturbed. She would refuse to tell us who the father or the new baby is and would talk very highly of her biological parents. After the birth of the baby she finally admitted to my wife that her and her biological father have been fricking her regularly for the past few years, and he is the baby's father, and she didn't seem to grasp how messed up this was. This continued on for 2 more years after the baby was born before she attempted to get out of the relationship with her father. Unfortunately she succumbed to her demons and committed suicide by driving headfirst into a semi with her children in the car. No one survived. These types of relationships are very toxic, and if you've been in one you should seek help. This happened to an ex-friend of mine in high school. The day I met her in math class, she kept bragging that she had an older boyfriend who drove a BMW. Turns out that older boyfriend was her stepbrother and nobody knew. Not even their parents. Although I think they suspected. Especially when the stepfather found a condom in the brother's room one time after a weekend away. She even got pregnant by this moron and had an abortion. All in secret. Oh, did I mention she was a freshman in high school when all this went down? I'm not surprised. Pornhub has taught me how it happens most of the time. The stepmom is stuck either in a window or has her hand stuck in the sink. She wants help from the stepson who for some reason needs her pants to be off to help. You get better leverage if you take her pants off and prop one of her legs up on the counter while yanking her hips back into you. It may seem crazy, but after a lot of pumping, the hand will come right out of the sink drain. One Christmas my uncle brought my future aunt-in-law over to meet everyone. I was 12 and she had big boobs. Like, stupidly big boobs. I got binoculars as a gift as part of a kid's spy kit. I thought I was being so clever pretending to look around the room with them just so I could stealthily, she was sitting 10 feet away, get a full zoomed in image of those lovely jubblies. I did this for like 30 minutes. Okay, that's hilarious. I had fricked my cousin. Don't know if that counts. It happened when I was 16. She was 18. My parents were gone for the weekend and I taped it. The original Stephen King adaptation, so I could watch it that Saturday evening. My cousin told my aunt and uncle she was going to watch it with me and probably sleep over because it's a long movie. They didn't think anything of it and neither did I. Sure, I always thought she was hot, but that was it. My dad had left a few beers in the fridge and told me we could both have 2. We never really drank, so it affected us more than we thought, and my cousin started teasing me. We ended up sleeping together and I lost my virginity that night. We both liked it though, so we did it again the next morning and we regularly had fricked over the course of a couple of months. This all happened 25 years ago and she's happily married with 2 kids. I'm also in a relationship. There never was any weirdness between us over this. We knew exactly what we were doing. I always used a condom and she took the pill. We figured twice as safe. We just enjoyed fricking each other. I had fricked my brother-in-law, and my family do know but pretend not to. My sister was married for a short time to a guy who worked and lived abroad most of the year. I never particularly liked the man. I think he wanted to be married to an attractive younger woman who would pretty much do what he say. Also, it was crazy because he was away 8 months of the year. My sister was young, freaking stupid in a lot of ways, didn't really get on with his friends and family, and generally felt like she'd been abandoned. Anyway, my sister, rather than live at his home when he was away, would move back in with my parents. He gave my sister access to a certain amount of money and much hilarity ensued. So I was in my first year of university, and he found out that my sister had been cheating with him. Not only that, she'd done it with several people he knew, and he was not surprisingly angry. My parents, being idiots, decided to hire a lawyer who made things worse, and then the issue over what was happening with the money came up. So I came home from university and my family were about to be put out of their home. Also, I should mention he'd paid for some of my university expenses. I'm making this way too complicated, but essentially I ended up fricking him in return for him calming down and letting my sister and family climb out of the financial hole they were in. The fricking was pretty weird, and he enjoyed fricking me in my sister's bed way more than he should have. In the end though, he got out of my family's life and that was the end of it. That's fricked. Ex-girlfriend told me she had experiences with her brother when they were both younger. I mean the whole 9 yards. I guess they didn't know it was wrong and thought of it as learning, but she said she even swallowed. Tried to not let it change my opinion, but that is definitely some news. I'm OH, and my ex-boyfriend's dad paid me for fricking 4 years before meeting my ex. Needless to say, we didn't stay together for long after that. I'm married to my sister. Wait, put the pitchforks and vomit buckets down. She wasn't my sister when I married her. Feel better now? Onto the why. I've known my wife since we were little, like younger than I can remember. Her backyard touched mine. My uncle was best friends with her father. I moved away for a bit, then came back in my early teens. She's about 3 years older than me and had very little interest in me cause it's icky for girls to like younger boys. Then later, after our teens, we reconnected and started dating. Then after I determined she was the right kind of crazy for me, I asked her to marry me. Silly crazy lady said yes. Pretty normal stuff so far, right? Well, during this time both of our parents went to Splitsville with their first marriages. Can you see where this is heading? Her dad and my mom decided, frick it, let's make life awkward for our future generations and get hitched. So now my kids get to call me Uncle Daddy. Thanks so much, Mom. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.